Hello, everyone, and welcome to the seventh session of Star Trek Kongo. If this is your first time here, hello and welcome. We're a actual play podcast that is role playing using the Star Trek Adventure system by Modifius Entertainment. We are set in the year 2415 aboard a Trident class out in the Sabine Expanse. Now, what that means is that this is sort of in the canon ELH universe, but don't stress if you haven't watched any of my other shows, or if you have to leave early, or if you haven't watched Congo. My content should hopefully be accessible to the point that you can just drop in at any time and have a good time watching. But if you do want to play catch up, the VODs for all my games are on YouTube and most of the popular podcast solutions. In terms of announcements, I don't really have any this week, so we're just going to go ahead and go straight into introductions, starting with the captain.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I play Captain Lee Tobin, an intensely religious Bajoran on his first command.
And my name is John. I play the chief engineer of Jaro Terrell, Ensign Jaro Terrell.
Hey guys, I'm Aaron. I am Lieutenant Commander Datig, the science officer and first officer of the Congo. That's all.
I'm Watney. I play the chief medical officer of the Congo, Dr. Alel Ledenobulan.
And I'm Dag. I play Congo's security chief, Lieutenant Fives. I am a former Borg and Augment. And if you want to yell at me about it, hit me up at Trek Nexus on Twitter.
And if you don't know me by now, I'm ELH the Game Master. And today we have an opening log from the captain. And as the captain's speaking, we start with an external shot of the Congo as it flies through space. And we sort of zoom in to the ready room where Lee is giving his log to the computer. So take it away.
The scene begins with Lee at his desk, nursing a cup of coffee that has long grown cold, and reviewing various different data pads. Captain's log, stardate 93783.9. The Congo is proceeding at maximum warp to respond to a Sheliak Distress signal emanating from a nearby star system. Well, they established a non-aggression pact with the Federation and its innumerable species of irrational vermin, the Sheliak and almost all evidence of their civilization's existence vanished from the quadrant after the Hobo supernova. It's possible that we're on the verge of resolving one of the great mysteries of the last century. But of course, the well-being of any individual Sheliak we encounter takes precedence. Long-distance survey reports of the system suggest that only one planetary body, barely within the Sun's habitable zone, lies within the system, and even that environment would be hostile to the non-humanoid Sheliak. There is, however, another minor mystery. Lieutenant Commander Datig has teased out a second, subtle, and as yet unidentified signal. Is it possible that there are two parties in distress? Lee sets down his pad, pausing to squeeze the ridges on the bridge of his nose, eyes focusing on the hollow image on his desk that depicts him and a Vulcan woman with two children in their arms. Before we arrive in the system, however, I have another diplomatic overture to arrange. While I remain concerned for the safety of the crew in light of Dr. Alel's experiments, I do owe her an apology for the way in which I approached the matter of additional security and containment measures. After a moment of hesitation, during which he tamps down on his breathing, running through some form of meditative exercise, Lee looks to his desk and enters a code on the locking mechanism of one of the drawers. It slides open with a corresponding affirmative chirp, and he withdraws a second hollow imager, placing it on his desk and brushing the activation panel with a stiff roll of his thumb. A shimmering, half-translucent hollow recording of a much younger Lee, with a giggling toddler perched upon his shoulders, chubby hands to Lee's cheeks, runs in a loop, the washed-out colors splashed across the far older man's features. While her irreverent attitude is generally problematic, I let my personal feelings influence the way in which I addressed her behaviors, and my concerns regarding the safety procedures governing her experiments in sickbay. Should medical containment fail, even if it's the result of the most improbable set of circumstances, the consequences could be dire. He thumbs off the recording of his son, the The silent, jovial laughter and grinning face winking out, leaving only the hollow image of Lee, the Vulcan woman, and their 2 children, with the curious melange of Bajoran nasal ridges and Vulcan ears. No CMO, no person, should live with that on his conscience. End log.
All right, you may have an additional momentum for that opening log. So it's not that long after you finish your log that there is a chime at your ready room door, Captain Lee.
And Lee will rearrange some of the pads on his desk very briefly, as if he's trying to find some way of busying himself and not answering the door, and will finally, after he has exhausted that avenue, call out, enter.
Door opens and reveals a certain Denobulan on the other side.
So her hand is raised like she was going to press the chime again, just in case he didn't hear it the first time. Oh, hello.
Hello, Doctor.
Hi. She enters and then strides towards to take a seat in front of him.
Thank you for coming, Doctor. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to meet with me in a slightly less formal context.
Oh, it's all right. I'm off duty. You know, no sleep, plenty of time.
I must imagine that's incredibly useful.
It is. I have numerous hobbies outside of my work in medbay. Not too many I can do on a starship, but I make it work.
Well, you do have the holodecks, I suppose.
It's not the same.
Fair enough. Can I get you anything? Drink?
She looks around. She's like, I'll pass. Actually, thank you.
Doctor, the reason that I called you here is that I feel on both a personal and professional level, I owe you an apology.
Oh, I wouldn't worry too much, sir. You're allowed to express how you feel, and if I happen to be on the other end of that, that's quite all right.
Nonetheless, Doctor, you do have authority in sickbay, and it's not my position to impose on you in your area of expertise.
And I'll agree with that, but it was wrong of me to forget the circumstances under which your reaction to my assumed negligence occurred.
I appreciate the generosity of your response, Doctor. And nonetheless, all of my officers have the right and the responsibility to call me out when I'm acting unprofessionally. And I appreciate that you did so.
I can think of literally no other time, sir, where I've ever seen you act unprofessionally. So I thought I would just let it go.
Again, Doctor, I very much appreciate that.
I also would like to express regret on how I handled the situation. I was not very mature. I know us Denobulans can be quite aloof, but in matters where you are worried, I will definitely take more care in the future.
And, Doctor, cultural differences aside, let me make it clear, my concern was not just for the ship, but for you as well. As somebody who has no doubt lost patience in the past, despite your best efforts, I wouldn't want you to go through that again, to have that on your conscience.
I appreciate the concern as well. And yes, I can't say a safety failure was ever the cause of one of my losses, but doesn't really matter. It still lives with you.
Indeed. Speaking of living, though, Doctor, on a more pleasant subject, and he looks down towards the little holographic image of his family. Have you ever given any thought to having a family of your own? I know that you're married, but
Um, Maybe one day. I certainly have lots of time for that.
true enough.
And I need to find a second husband first. It's not usually protocol in our culture.
How, not to be culturally insensitive, Doctor, but how exactly does that work? It's, if you'll forgive me, really rather alien to Bajoran family structures.
I would imagine so, sir. It just kind of happens.
Fair enough. Not that it's any of my business, Doctor, but family is the most important thing. And I would encourage anyone to explore the possibility of expanding it, whether that's with a second husband or children. They're, uh, they're everything.
I think you would find yourself quite at home on my home world, sir. Our families are huge. And there is literally children everywhere.
That sounds like a delight.
Certainly, but I do enjoy the solitude of sick bay as well, or else I wouldn't be here.
Well, as my wife is fond of informing me, infinite diversity in infant combinations is the ethos of the Federation as much as it is of the Vulcans. So, different strokes for different folks, as it were, I think is the human expression.
Yeah, we'll certainly find that to be true out here, I think.
Well, Doctor, I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. Was there anything else? Any other concerns that you have about the ship, about any of our officers and their health?
I'm worried about Jaro.
From a psychological standpoint, I think I understand what you mean. Is there a physiological condition that was concerning you?
Not particularly, but I will say when we were on our most recent away mission on that horrible ship that I'm so glad is not a thing anymore. He offered to exchange his functioning EV suit for my non-functioning EV suit, and I worry about. I try to know humans as well as I can, and perhaps it's like a human thing, but it seems weird to do that, to offer. I just worry about his mental health, and being that he is on the senior staff. Also, he's quite antisocial, and it's just I feel like Fives is trying to get through to him a little bit, but I'm not a counselor, if you take my meaning.
No, Doctor, I understand what you mean. That propensity towards self immolation is a distressing one, and it is oftentimes the result of the kinds of traumatic experiences that he's undergone. I wonder if you might take a look at something. And Lee will actually call up something on his tablet computer there on his desk and turn it around. And when you look at the readouts thereon, it's a series of exchanges that he has had with Lieutenant Jana. And they have dated back since before Jaro joined the crew on the Kongo. I've been in communication with Lieutenant Jana on board Deep Space October. Although I don't think he genuinely considers Ensign Jaro his friend any longer, he is concerned about his well-being. He's asked me not to disclose his interest to Jaro, but I wonder if that might, I don't know, might that have a positive effect on him?
I didn't really know him all that well. It might I can't imagine it would hurt. He rarely speaks to me.
He rarely speaks to anyone, sadly.
I mean, my recommendation would be Yes. Why not? Who knows? Things could have ended badly, and sometimes a little distance in time is all that really needs. But not that I'm suggesting they become fast friends again, but at least knowing there's amicable goodwill in both directions, it can often speed the healing process along, I would think.
When you raised the issue, did you have any suggestions as to how we might approach his situation?
Jaro's situation?
Yes.
The last physical, and I'm only telling you this because you're the captain, but the last physical that I had for him, he came back pretty normal for a human. There was some uh, lowered levels of whatever they're called,
Neurotransmitters.
neurotransmitters, neurotransmitters in his brain, specifically dopamine and serotonin. But I asked him and he seemed fine. Again, I'm not a counselor, so I did direct him to see the counselor. To no effect, I'm sure.
As chief medical officer, you do have the authority to make that an order, and you would have my full support if you chose to do that.
Yeah, I forgot I have that. I forgot I have that authority. I'll think about it. I would need a more updated scan before I can really do that. Maybe he's improved. Although I would say that my recent experience of him willing to basically die on an away mission with a perfectly good EV suit was really what caused me to bring it up. But now that you say it, I definitely think we should try and get him some counseling time.
Well, Doctor, I do appreciate you bringing your concerns to my attention. The health and well-being of everyone on board this ship is as much my responsibility as the captain as it is yours as the chief medical officer. So consider me to have an open door policy when it comes to the health and well-being of this crew. Of course, you could also just bother Datek about it too. I'm sure he'd be thrilled.
He stops by pretty often in sickbay. I think he misses it. Again, I'm not a counselor, but
We miss the pieces of ourselves that we leave in the past, Doctor. Whether that's transferring to an assignment or finding a new career, I can understand that. It's hard to let go.
well, I as well have an open door policy, Captain, in sickbay. If you would like to stop by and make sure things are up and up on safety, you're welcome to inspect anytime.
Thank you, Doctor. I appreciate it. If there's nothing else,
Nothing else.
please prepare sickbay in case we encounter any members of the Sheliak membership that require assistance when we arrive in system.
I will. Are they the ones that like to have the air temperature around them the same temperature as their body, like exactly?
Yes, they do have rather unique temperature requirements.
Okay. Let me go brush up. I'll prepare sickbay. Thank you, sir.
Very good, Doctor.
She will stand, bow slightly, and then take her leave.
All right. So as that's going on, we're just going to go to the bridge where Jaro, Fives, Datig, and Ensign Rowan are all just sort of making sure things stay ship-shape as you are on your way to investigate the distress call from the Sheliak. And to start off the scene, Rowan sort of yawns, does one of those cat-like stretches where she just kind of extends all of her limbs as best she can, and finishes yawning and goes, oh man, I really should not have had that second thing of catnip.
Is that, I mean, you realize you're not actually a cat, right? You're Cajun, that's very similar. Of course, you're feline, but not... Never mind. I didn't realize, I knew a Cajun back on DSO, and he hated catnip jokes.
Oh, I actually don't mind them. you may not know this, but my dad, my adoptive father, was human, and he had many cats. They loved me. I love them.
It's good to know. It's remarkable. Adopted father was human.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I read that in your personnel file, but I probably just forgot because it wasn't important.
She kind of turns and looks at you like she doesn't know how to reply to that one. And since I have a complication, it's at that moment that Fives, you lose your run of Galaga. You bomb pretty hard.
Somebody just lost. I recognize that sound.
You're muted, as is
Perfect.
tradition.
Sorry, audio at my station is down, sir.
No, I don't mean the sound of the game. I know you mute the game. Any second-year cadet knows that you mute Galaga when you're in the simulation or on a bridge, but it's the sound of you clenching your jaw. It's audible. I hope you know that.
I was trying to port the 1972 binaries onto the new version of LCARS. So far, so good.
Interesting. Mr. Jaro, I was wondering if I could get your assistance with something.
Ender.
You know that we've received the distress call from the Sheliak, but we've also noticed possibly a second signal concurrent with it. It's possible that we may be dealing with two parties in distress. And I'd like to eliminate that as a possibility if I can, or confirm it. Are you able to increase the sensor resolution? Maybe bring another fusion reactor online so that we can draw some additional power?
Of course. Let me get right on that. And Jaro starts tinkering on his panel.
Sure. Well, let's get you some momentum here, hopefully. Go ahead and give me a control engineering. The ship will assist you with an engines engineering. And difficulty on this is just a 1.
Okay.
Somebody have the ship?
Got you your 1.
And there's the 1. Let's see if the ship gets you any further successes. Someone does have the ship, yeah.
Aaron, was that you?
I was legitimately asking. I could do it though. It's engine engineering.
Engines engineering, yep.
Nope.
Nope, no success. Just the 1. No extra momentum, but you do accomplish it just fine. So yeah, Jaro, you spin up a few extra fusion reactors, and you now have increased fidelity to the sensor array.
Perfect. So, GM, what I'd like to do, and sorry if this sort of throws you for a hitch, but I heard that in the opening log, and I sort of wanted to hinge on it. Can I run a sensor analysis of the secondary signal? I have an idea.
Sure. And I tell you what, I think Jaro would be a good source of an assist here. Not just because it is sort of a signal deciphering thing, but it also might be related to some of his, not his focuses, but some of his values, if that makes any sense. So let's do it this way. So Datig, I want you to roll me a, let's call it a control in science. And Jaro, you would be assisting with a, let's call it a insight engineering on your part. The overall difficulty on this will be a 3.
Now the Kongo does have advanced sensor suites, right? Does that not lower the difficulty a little bit?
It does. It was initially a 4 and
Perfect.
is now a 3.
Okay.
All right, well, there's your assist from Jaro. Good stuff there.
And I rolled 2 successes as well.
Oh, yeah, I see it now. So that is your 3 successes. So working together between Datig and Jaro, what you're able to tell is that, or rather you're able to confirm, is that this signal is not something that has ever been encountered by a Starfleet vessel, or even a Federation vessel for that matter. it is an entirely alien signal. And it repeats, which suggests there's some intelligence behind it. But you only really get one word through the universal translator. And that word is the Kraeza. Kraeza.
Crazy. Am I reading that right, Jarl?
I
Crazy.
believe so. I've never heard of anything like that, but that's what I'm getting as well.
Interesting. Mr. Fives, is that ringing any bells for you, Crazy?
I do not recall coming across anyone known as the Kraza.
Interesting. So, GM, can we determine the origin point of that signal? Is it coming from the same place as the Sheliak?
It is indeed the same planet.
Interesting. Well, Date's going to bundle that up and push it through to Lee's Ready Room console as an addendum to the initial report.
And yeah, I think that's probably a good opportunity for Alel to step out of the ready room at that point. And Alel, as you sort of cross the bridge, Rowan does turn and give you a nice curt nod and a smile, as she does. And unless you stay to linger, Alel, question mark. All right.
Oh, doctor, I finished the diagnostics on the medical systems. So, just normal maintenance. It should all be fine.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Jaro.
Yep.
Was that all? Was that
Oh,
everything?
yeah, that's all.
All right. She'll find a seat nearby.
Sure. Actually,
To,
out of curiosity,
review.
what?
Hmm?
Let me look at Alel's scores real quick.
Joy.
Yeah, I tell you what, you can actually just kick out the person who's sitting at ops. You've got the skills for it, so sure.
Oh, okay. She's gonna just pat them on the shoulder, I guess, take their seat, and then review the diagnostic to ensure everything's ready to go. And that's what she'll be doing.
Are you angling for a new assignment, Doctor? I can get you some cross-training if you like.
Yeah, what do you want to take over in sick bay? You like to go there a lot.
I'm the XO. It's my job to make sure that my officers have everything they need. And you'll notice that I barely step on your toes at all anymore, and I'm hoping that if my self-therapy proceeds apace, then I will cease bothering you altogether within 3 to 4 weeks.
It's not a bother. Step on my toes whenever you'd like. In fact, she kind of like dangles him out, like,
So accommodating.
Oh,
How did
don't tempt him, doctor. He will.
Ooh.
I think engineering has just earned a surprise inspection. I guess if it's not really a surprise if I say it out loud.
And Rowan actually turns and says, no, we can still make it a surprise. Warp core failure, sir? Totally could do that.
Absolutely not.
Understood, sir. And she gives you a big old wink.
Lieutenant
Right.
Commander,
Lieutenant.
if with your permission, sir, I would like to run this message through our tactical decryption database. Given that we were only to get a couple of words out of there, it might be some kind of encryption.
By all means, Mr. Fives. Excellent suggestion.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's probably about then when Lee maybe exits his ready room to see what's going on.
Captain on the bridge.
At ease. Lieutenant Commander Datig, report?
Well, sir, the Analysis of the distress call confirmed my suspicion that there is a second signal of unknown origin. Well, I suppose unknown format. Um, Language and syntax unrecognized. Carrier amplitude off by a few microns. And seems to be parsed fairly closely with the Sheliak signal itself. So much so that the two seem to be intermingled in a way.
Fascinating.
Almost as though a person was whispering next to somebody who was yelling.
Well, for the moment, I'm going to avoid any kind of speculation as to the nature of the secondary signal. I think we have to focus all of our efforts on ensuring that we're best equipped to meet the needs of the Sheliak in distress.
I concur, Captain.
Very good. And Lee is actually still standing there waiting for Datek to get out of his chair.
And I think it taps the control console on the chair a few more times absently before sort of just snapping up. Oh, and he just stands up and heads around to his normal station.
Mhm.
Much obliged, Commander. Thank you.
And yeah, as you take a seat, you honestly all don't have to wait that long, at least as far as travel time is concerned. It's maybe another 15, 30 minutes before you drop on the edge, or drop out of warp on the edge of this mysterious uncharted star system containing the mystery signals. And on the view screen, what you see is a class, if I remember correctly, it's a Class O star, which is essentially a hyper blue giant. Very luminous, very hot. Compared to our sun Sol, let's just say Sol is more or less a pinprick compared to this star. So it's pretty big. And what that means is that the only planet in the system is pretty far out from where the star is, in order to accommodate the added solar mass and heat and light, etc., etc., etc.
Commander Datek, do we have any sensor readings on the sun as we are making our way towards the planet?
Yeah, GM, can I scan for solar radiation, any unusual phenomena that might interfere with our ability to render aid?
Yeah, go ahead and roll me a reason science. The ship will assist you with a sensor science, and this is a difficulty of 0, so hopefully all this will go to momentum.
All right. And would my focus in astrophysics apply here?
Most definitely.
I got the ship.
All right, that's 3 successes. Very nice. See if the ship gets you any more. And it does, which I believe means you are capped on momentum. And yeah, what you're able to detect is a couple of things. The first is that the sun and the planet are saturated with hyperonic radiation, or hyperionic radiation. I always forget how to say it. Case in point, this kind of radiation, it makes human living very difficult. It is what made a certain world a Class H, which the Sheliak wanted to take over in the first place. But what matters is the following. Extended exposure to this radiation is lethal to most humanoids, and this type of radiation also renders transporters and phasers inoperable.
We can never use them.
It's almost like your
Captain.
GM's like, no space magic for you.
I know.
Well, Captain, the good news is engines and shuttle propulsion shields all fine. Phasers and transporters are not an option. The hyperonic radiation provides a screen against that. Also, I'd recommend, if anybody's planning to go down there, that they are dosed doctored by a rather fortified version of hyronolin. And even with that, limit exposure to a few hours at a time, otherwise it could be cell damage and or death.
Ensign Jaro, is there any way that you could modify environmental suits to render them more resistant to the effects of the hyperonic radiation? Even if it extends our ability to be exposed to the environment on this planet, it may give us the time that we need to intervene on the Sheliak's behalf.
I'm sure I can put something together, Captain.
Thank you, Ensign. I appreciate that. Ensign Rowan, set course for the planet, and Drs. Alel and Datig, I'd like you to begin scanning for any signs of life on the world.
And yeah, I actually just gave Datig and Alel. Oops, looks like I didn't tag Alel. So you should both now have access to scans of the planet. You should have access to it now, Watney. But both of you should see that handout there, and you may flavor appropriately. But as Rowan sort of steers the ship in that direction, she kind of turns and says, Captain, a personal question, if I may.
You may, but for future reference, personal questions are best reserved for off-duty hours.
Oh, no, I understand that, sir. This is more of a personal nature. Sorry, I'm not... I'll get to the point. What do you think happened to the Sheliak? Why are they here?
Quite frankly, Ensign, I'm not even going to hazard a guess. What's important at the moment is not the why, but the well-being of the Sheliak that are requesting our help.
Understood, sir. Sorry, I just really like mysteries. I always like hearing people's theory about the Sheliak conspiracy, as they call it.
You're entirely free to speculate, Ensign, as is anyone, until we actually arrive at the planet. However, if you have something that can be done to better prepare us to render aid when the time comes, I would prefer it if you invested your energies and your attentions in that.
Actually, sir, after hearing about this radiation, what occurred to me is that we could, of course, shuttle the Sheliak up. Obviously, we don't know how many Sheliak there are, but maybe it's one of those things where we land the Kongo. I mean, it should be possible if I find a ravine or something we can dangle the secondary hull under so that we don't have to sort of teeter. It might be an option, sir. And is at this point that Datig and Alel, if I think you have read the handout at this point, if you could explain what happens next.
Sure. So Alel is like kind of would make eye contact with Datig and then let him speak on the first signal.
Well, the Sheliak Distress Call is coming from what looks to be a downed-ship crash site along the northern ridge of a mountain range that encircles pretty much the entire radius of the planet.
Oh, we were asked to scan for life forms, so I guess we can do that after. And then Alel follows. There's a second signal. It's very weak. It appears to be coming from like an abandoned mining operation or something along the southern ridge of the same range. It doesn't match any pattern on record. It's completely novel. The mining operation looks to be abandoned from what I can tell.
So I'm detecting a few active power signatures at the Sheliak crash site. Bear with me, I'll attempt a life form reading. And as you hear Datig sort of tap on the console, you sort of hear that sort of negative chime that you get from the computer from time to time when it can't do something that you want it to. And seconds later, all screens on the bridge are locked out, and all displays show the Greek character Omega.
In red. In red, not blue. In red.
In red.
Just had to throw that in.
In red. And GM, let me just ask: at this point in history, are all the Starfleet officers aware of the significance of that, or have we heard about it? Like, have we heard rumors of it? Or
I think it's fair to say that you know of the blue Omega, but red Omega should be new to everybody.
I thought this was supposed to be blue.
Sir, before this, I saw a scan of the mining operation, there was a main mine that went all the way down to the planet's core.
Hmm.
And then this.
I see. Ensign Rowan,
Sir?
set course for the planet and prepare to land the ship, unless there are any objections to that course of action.
No, sir, but she kind of motions at her lock station. I
You're
think
locked
you
out,
have to.
yes. Commander Dotig, if you would join me in my ready room for a moment, please.
Sir.
Nice.
Mr. Fives, you have the bridge.
Aye.
Yeah,
As
and Dathig will follow into the ready room.
Yep. As we run into the ready room, I'm going to give Lee access to this handout first. As you seal the room, put in your command codes, etc., etc. And when you deem it appropriate, I can give access to Datig as well.
So Lee would take a seat at his desk and motion for the commander to take a seat across from him and begin to review some of the files for a moment.
Is this what I think it is, sir? The Omega Directive?
Apparently there are an insufficient number of letters in the Greek alphabet, Doctor. Starfleet has classified this as the Red Omega Directive, and it has nothing to do, strangely enough, with the Omega particle, or I should say, the Omega particle itself. It's, well, and he'll turn the computer around and share the file with Datig.
All right, Datig, you should now have access to the same handout.
This. Sir, this is remarkably dangerous.
That goes without saying, Doctor. Although I suppose that I can understand the use of the Omega. After all, it is, even though unrelated to the Omega particle, it would constitute a potential civilizational ending threat. Starfleet has heavily regulated and in fact banned the use of red matter. I believe that the Vulcan Science Academy had to embark on its own independent research into this substance.
Yes, I recall there was some antipathy among the members of the Federation Council when it came to public attention that they were doing this despite the Federation's stance on the substance. But, I mean, we saw what happened as a result of the barest fraction of red matter being used in, well, less than laboratory condition.
I wonder if that's why the Sheliak are here, or they came here in the first place. They meant to obtain some of this decathium, or decathlithium, as a means of creating red matter for their own purposes.
Perhaps. Perhaps they were pursuing their own parallel research all along.
Nonetheless, Doctor, despite the fact that, as with the Omega Directive, all of our regulations are suspended, I feel that we still have a responsibility to the lives of any Sheliak that might be on the planet.
Of course. I mean, it goes without saying, I believe.
Very good. I'd like you to coordinate with Ensign Jaro and begin to come up with a plan to neutralize this the red matter source.
Aye, sir. I'd like to tap Mr. Fives as well.
I was thinking of having Fives assist Dr. Allel in the efforts to secure the Sheliak survivors, if any, and to investigate that matter. But if you feel that his services would be required, please.
On second thought, it may be better to split our resources. Well, the Sheliak aren't known for being friendly. I'd rather have vibes with Alel.
Precisely my point, Doctor.
And, sir, I know that we don't know what they were doing, but if the Sheliak were here in any capacity to obtain the means to create red matter, I believe that we have an obligation to investigate why. In the past, they've shown disregard for humanoid life forms.
I believe the correct term would be utter contempt for vermin, I believe was the term that they used.
Yes.
But your point is well taken, Lieutenant Commander. If they intend to use this as some form of weapon, that becomes our priority.
So I believe that our priorities should be neutralize any red matter, secure the Sheliak survivors, and investigate the occurrence.
Agreed. I'll unlock the systems on the bridge and throughout the rest of the ship, and I'd like you to inform the rest of the senior staff as to their responsibilities.
I will.
Very good.
And yeah, I think we'll sort of take that as a dismissal and get up to back to the bridge.
All right. So, Lee, before you can even start to, quote unquote, enjoy the fact that you're alone in your ready room again, your vision suddenly goes white, and I mean stark white here. And you find yourself in a white void. All around you is literally just sort of a void. There's nothing around you. The sound is so quiet that you hear your own heartbeat. And the heartbeat gets louder and louder as you look around. And I'm curious, how do you respond to this? Because you know what this is. You're Bajoran. You know what this is.
Given that Lee has had both an orb experience and contact with sort of false orb experience by way of telepathic manipulation, he is actually just standing stock still, somewhat stupefied and uncertain.
So your heartbeat maybe steadies a little bit, and then you feel a tap on your shoulder.
And Lee will just slowly turn.
And standing behind you in all of his glory is the Cisco.
Emissary, I'm...
Oh, no, let's not do the emissary thing. It's not appropriate. But, hello, Captain.
Hello.
So you're probably wondering why the prophets have deemed it necessary to send me of all people.
I wouldn't think of questioning their will as to why they would elect one servant over another.
Let's just say that there is something on that planet that you are uniquely qualified to appropriate.
How? Where is it? What am I meant to find? What is it that the prophets have foreordained for me to do?
Well, and you can see he's actually hesitating a little bit. I want to tell you, I really do, but there's certain rules I have to follow for this sort of procedure. But let's just say that you need to be on the away mission for this one.
Is it the away mission to the Sheliak, or should I investigate the mine? Do the prophets have any more specific guidance for us?
Let's just say they're both tied together.
I must admit that kind of ambiguity is frustrating, but not unexpected, and I understand that the prophets have our best interests at heart, so there must be a reason for it.
Let's just say that after spending actually, I don't know how long it's been. They don't really let me keep track of linear time here, but I've been with them for a while. This is kind of their MO. I knew it going in, didn't expect it to be this quote unquote bad.
I'm sorry, emissary, may I speak with you not as a Starfleet officer for a moment?
Sure.
I can't thank you enough for what you've done for me and for my people. I know that you must hear that so often, but when last we met, when I was just a child, you gave shape and meaning and direction to everything that I've ever done. Words can't possibly express how much just those few moments with you meant to me and mean to me now.
So he doesn't respond verbally, but he kind of sort of reassuringly reaches out a hand and sort of does that fatherly shake of your shoulder and says, I understand. And to be honest, it's kind of interesting to see how you've grown over the years.
I hope that I lived up to the vision that you had for my life.
Let's just say that your unique view on family will serve you well on this away mission. And before you can ask anything else, do anything else, the vision goes white again, and you find yourself back in your ready room.
And after a few moments of staring at the image of his wife, and he will reach into that drawer and retrieve the hollow image of his son, looking at it once again, place it down on the table, leaving it there, activated alongside the other image, and go to the bridge.
All right. And at this point, Dantig, if you want to fill in the other players what's actually going on here, and then Lee will enter at a dramatically appropriate time.
I was muted that time.
As is tradition.
Yeah, of course. And Dantig will come out and just regard everybody and say, Fives, Alel, Jaro, I need to see you in the briefing room.
Right away, sir.
Aye.
And he'll go in and sort of on the wall console, he'll pull up what Lee shared with them, explaining the significance of the Red Omega Directive. After the sort of preamble, he'll say, so we have 3 chief concerns. Ensign Jaro, you and I will work on a way to detect, isolate, and neutralize any red matter that may exist on the planet. Fives and LL, you will be in charge of any rescue operations for Sheliak survivors still alive on the planet's surface.
Sir, they hate humanoids.
Yes, I understand that, but they called for help, and we are duty-bound to respond.
Okay, this is going to be one of those things.
I'd recommend placing your best foot forward. And remember, you won't have me to step on them.
I was just going to say.
Along that line of thinking, sir, while you were speaking with the captain, I looked up if we had any Starfleet interactions with hyperonic radiation, and it turns out there was a case, and one of the officers on the Enterprise had devised a way to fix their phasers in that environment, and I was thinking I might be able to try such a tweak, even if we can only get 2 or 3 extra shots.
Good. I would suggest that you do that, but try to be quick. Time is a factor. I have a secondary assignment for the both of you.
Understood.
As you evacuate the Sheliak, although I'm not certain, we'll scan the planet's surface, but I expect that we'll find them close to their ship. If the opportunity presents itself, I want you to investigate what they were doing here in the first place. I shudder to think that they were coming here to obtain red matter to use as a weapon to exterminate humanoid vermin by the star system. While that may not be part of the Omega Directive, we do have full sanction to, shall we say, skirt the rule book.
I hope you have it memorized, Commander.
I always considered the book to be really more of a guideline than actual rules.
Yeah, like the Ferengi rules of acquisition. There's always like fun stuff like that.
All right, but those are actual rules. They have to live by those.
Well, it's a treat. The Sheliak. It's a treaty. We have to follow that too.
Yes. However, the Red Omega Directive supersedes any and all Starfleet regulation. And our conduct on the mission to secure, isolate, and neutralize red matter is not limited by treaty. That being said, we don't want to take advantage.
I think we can deduce quite a bit from the power of observation, right, Fives? She's like hinting at his scanner implant. He must be processing. I don't know.
Or he's just ignoring you. That being said... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I apologize, sir. I was wondering if this directive blocked out my game.
I'd say that's probably a safe bet, but we have...
I'll ignore it, sir.
We've got bigger target to spear right now. So...
Speaking of big target to spear, I think that's when the captain walks into the conference room.
Report?
The crew has been, the senior staff has been briefed on what is expected. I was actually about to open the floor to questions. It's good that you're here.
Very good. Questions, concerns, and as Lee sort of takes his seat, he's moving somewhat stiffly, awkwardly, as if he's a million light years away.
Sir, I have prepped sickbay at... Are you okay?
Yes, Doctor. I'm better than okay. Please, your report on sickbay, your ability to treat any conditions that the Sheliak might have, any injuries.
We are as prepared as we can be, sir. They are obviously very mysterious, but we should be as ready as we can be, and that includes, we're prepared to treat captains as well. She pokes again. Are you sure you're feeling okay?
Pupils are slightly dilated.
To be frank, there's no reason to conceal this from you. I have received a vision from the emissary, or as you would know him, Benjamin Sisko.
Wow. I just got goosebumps all over.
I don't know what to say.
Is it simply a coincidence that he visited you now?
Apparently, I am destined by the prophets to locate something on this planet, although they were really rather vague about what it was they intended for us. Doctors, there are certain physiological signs that the prophets have been in contact with an individual, certain elevated neurotransmitter levels and the like. I'd like you to scan me, if possible, to try to ensure that this experience was genuine.
I'll do that. And please understand, I'm not scanning you out of doubt. I fully, absolutely believe that this was a truthful, real experience for you. And she will scan the captain.
And yeah, since you are capped to momentum, I think the extra momentum you would have gotten from the redeem cancels out the complication. What I'll just tell you straight up is, yeah, that's that. He's got elevated neurotransmitter levels. He's maybe a little high on dopamine right now, because who wouldn't be? But yeah, he seems to be legit from a medical standpoint.
LL smiles, looking at her tricorder. She's like, all the signs are there, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. I very much appreciate your assistance.
Sir, I'm hesitant to take the full ship down to the planet because of the interaction with the radiation and the planet. I mean, their ship is trapped on the planet. What's to say that ours wouldn't as well? But with that said, I don't know who or what you're planning on doing as far as an away mission is concerned, but I believe that the Banshee could use a little time in the sky.
Are you offering to take it out, Vincent?
Yeah, if depending on who's all going and things like that.
May I make a recommendation, sir, that Fives and I arrive as officially as possible in a shuttle, while perhaps everyone else rides the Banshee to the other objectives. That would allow us to conceal and perhaps shield a piece of the away party.
I believe that's a reasonable suggestion, although neither you nor Fives have extensive diplomatic experience. Commander Datig, do you
Sir?
wish to join them?
At this point, I'd like some time to work with Jaro on our plan for the red matter before we go to the planet. But yes, once that's complete, I'm happy to go with LL and Fives.
Although that does leave this ship bereft of a commander, because for obvious reasons, regardless of any professional objections that you might have, Lieutenant Commander, I am joining this away mission.
Well, sir, captains from time to time have been known to go boots on the ground, but I would appreciate some of your time in private to discuss my concerns.
I would welcome it, Lieutenant Commander.
I'll be down in the shuttle bay, sir, prepping all of the EV suits for the extra radiation, and also shoring up the two shuttles for any sort of interaction that they might have with the radiation.
Very good. Oh, I'm sorry, Captain. You're supposed to say that when you're in the room.
That is correct. You are not a captain yet, Lieutenant Commander. Questions, concerns, other issues before you depart for your assignments?
I have something for Mr. Jaro. Now that the captain has released the system, can you have someone in engineering check our prefab logs in the replicator to see if Starfleet has provided us with any plans already for how to deal with this red matter? If not, we'll have to come up with something on the fly.
Jaro is going to quickly scan through the database and see what he can find.
All right. I think it's probably not something you have to roll for here. Like, I think you would just be told what it is. But in particular, what you see is that there's really only one pattern that shows up, and it's not so much a replicator pattern as it is a suggestion. Specifically, we're talking about a rather hefty photon torpedo. I'm honestly drawing a blank off the top of my head what the special kind of photon that Voyager had. It's whichever one that they used to blow up the caretaker array. So it's that special of a warhead.
Tricobalt?
Tricobalt.
That's what it is. Thank you. Yes, it is a tricobalt warhead, which you could manufacture one of using what you have on the Kongo, but only one.
I think we could get one tricobalt device to potentially interact. But I also have another theory. Well, generally speaking, the red matter, well, hopefully is a small amount. And if it is, we could theoretically use the wormhole generator to shunt it somewhere else and let it do its thing in the middle of space.
I'm loath to put it outside of our purview, Ensign. However, if there are insignificant amounts of red matter, I would like you to prep that as a potential last resort.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And thank you for the innovative use of the technological testbed that is the Kongo. Other concerns? Other issues to raise?
I just wanted to say that Fives would probably be checking out the tactical database to see if he could download and integrate Data's servo enhancements to the phasers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then Chief of Security, I've got a security team. See if I can work with them to not only implement that fix to the phasers, but potentially create or spend some momentum to create an advantage where that change would be implemented through all hand phasers.
Yeah, and that actually was what I was going to cover before we went to break. Is let's talk momentum spends here. So you have full momentum. So I'm going to offer you a bunch of spends. Each of these is worth 2 momentum. So first spend you could do is shoring up your EV suits, and what that'll do is it'll give you EV suits that will render you immune to the radiation, meaning you can spend all the time you like doing whatever you want on the planet. That's going to be 2 momentum. Another 2 momentum spend is going to be modulating the phasers in such a way that they will work on the planet. However, there will be an attached complication to that, meaning that every time you fire a phaser on the planet, you have to roll a challenge die. And if you roll an effect, well, that just means your phasers no longer work. So it could give you 1 shot, could give you 7 shots, could give you almost no shots at all, but it is an option. And the third spend, which I will offer to you all, is one to, shall we say, make the tricobalt device without needing to do the extended task for it. Because if you don't do the momentum spend, you will have to do a fairly easy extended task, but an extended task which will take time. And time might be a factor here. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
I would ask, given that we know that the Federation has produced chemical projectile weapons in the past, would that be any different in terms of momentum or threat spend than replicating the phaser
what I would
in this environment?
say is because
we're going to replicate some TR-116s.
Exactly. I think what it would end up being is you would replicate TR-116s and hand them out to the away teams. That would just be a 2 momentum spend, but it would also give me 1 threat because it is an escalation of force kind of a thing. But they would work just fine. Like the TR-116s would work just as well as a Type 3 phaser. Well, better than a Type 3 phaser, but you know what I mean.
Sorry, Jim, to cut in here, but I'm batting on your side today.
Mm-hmm.
Would not a projectile weapon be automatically considered lethal?
Yes, it would automatically be considered lethal. So it would give
Okay.
me a threat every time you fired.
Also something to consider.
Would it
So,
be considered an energy weapon?
So we
No, it
don't.
would
We
be
just
considered
don't fire
projectile.
it at any cost. We just avoid firing.
Fives would object to showing off such awesome weaponry on what is supposed to be a diplomatic rescue and urge for the hand phasers only and potentially carry maybe some photonic microcharges if we have to make a quick escape.
Very good, Lieutenant. I was actually going to leave it to your discretion as to how you would arm the away team and your security officers.
Yes, sir. That was my thinking. TR-116 would be really nice on the surface, but I don't have a lot of training with those. And we don't want the Sheliak to think we're coming to attack them or take advantage of them outside of the Treaty of Armins.
So are we blowing all 6 momentum?
Yeah, that's
I
my
think we
question.
are.
I think we are. Yeah. Let's just dump it.
Yep.
All right. Well, as you all get ready for the away team in your own ways, I think that is an excellent point to take our 5 to 10 minute break. So we'll be back very shortly. Stick around. All right, welcome back, everybody. And before we get this next scene started, I do have to give a few shout-outs here. So thank you, Chubby Kobold, Doc Watney, Sir James Boquet, Anonymous, thank you all for the bits. Sir James Boquet, thank you for the gift sub. And yeah, I'm just glad you all are out there having a great time. But we sort of resume our little session with the away teams, the 2 of them anyway, on their way to the shuttle bay. And I believe Datig has some choice words for Lee, as it were.
Yeah, on the way to the shuttle bay, Datig pulls Captain Lee aside and says, "All right, Captain, permission to speak freely." And
Granted,
he's
Commander.
he's keeping his voice down. "I think it's a mistake for you to go on this away team."
Doctor, professionally, I agree with you 100%. You're absolutely correct. I should not go on this away mission.
Good. Then I will send you regular reports.
No, Doctor, you misunderstand. I'm still going. It's a mistake. But there are certain things that take precedence over my duties as a captain. I'm being just as frank with you as you have been with me.
All right. Then allow me to be equally as frank. You are wrong.
As a Starfleet officer, yes, I am wrong.
Yes. And while you wear that uniform, that's what you are.
Will I wear this uniform, Doctor, just like you? I'm still who I am. And you may notice that I am calling you Doctor right now quite intentionally. This is not a mistake on my part. Because in your heart, I think, you're always going to be a healer. We can't change who we are, Doctor. We might wear different uniforms. We might wear different pips. But as a man, you're a doctor. And as a man, I'm a man of faith.
Maybe so. But you'll notice that, well, in my heart, I may be a doctor still. And always will be. I cede that authority to Dr. L.L. on board this ship. And I do not practice medicine. Because that's at odds with my role here. I believe you traveling to the planet's surface. And I mean no disrespect. I want you to know that. I respect your religious beliefs, and I respect your conviction. We all have to believe in something. But I believe my primary responsibility is to this ship. And the ship cannot function without her captain. That is why I'm here. Frankly, I'm not here to accommodate the prophets, nor am I here to accommodate a man who died 40 years ago. I respect your conviction and your belief, and if you still insist on going, it's the last that I will speak of it. But my official objection to this decision will be noted in my log.
As an officer, Doctor, you have to do what you believe is correct. Although I will say, Lieutenant Commander, if you wish to stay on board this ship and serve as its acting captain while I'm on the surface, I believe that would eliminate some of the difficulties that would otherwise be posed by my departing. If you have a responsibility to the vessel, to its crew, shouldn't you remain behind? Or are you letting your own concerns for the Sheliak and the lives that you might be able to save on the surface override your judgment as an officer?
My responsibility to the safety of this vessel extends to all members of her crew. If members of the crew are going to be on the surface of the planet in harm's way, then I should be there. You should not. However, I applaud your conviction as a fellow sentient being. Morality and duty and responsibility are not always the same thing. And I salute you for realizing that. All Ensign Rowan has to do is park the ship in orbit and make sure it doesn't fall out of the sky. I'm sure she can handle it. But you must promise me to keep in regular contact with the ship and try your very best not to take any unnecessary risks.
Well, that's the difficult thing, isn't it, Doctor? It's making those judgments when you're aware that you're personally or emotionally compromised by a situation. I give you my word, not just as a Starfleet officer, but as a man and a man of faith, for those things that are most important to me, that I will do everything in my power to ensure that no unnecessary risks are taken. And if they are necessary risks, they'll be mine alone.
I believe we are beginning to understand one another. Good luck, Captain.
You too, Lieutenant Commander.
All right. So it is at this point, as we skip ahead just a little bit to both the remaining Type 9 shuttle, because you only had the one extra, and the Banshee, departing from the rear of the Kongo and going down towards the planet. I'm going to ask the players this one, because either way, I think it's going to make for good content. Which of the away teams do you all want to tackle first? Do you want to tackle the team of Lee and Jaro together, or do you want to tackle the Datig Alel 5's away team?
The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the two.
I mean, with an argument like that, I think we have our answer. All right. So, as you all, as the two shuttles sort of split apart and head towards the same general area of the planet, what we see is indeed that the mountain range that was alluded to earlier, it does quite literally form a belt around the planet's surface. And the mountaintops are actually quite high, like we're talking Himalayan sized. So they're quite noticeable even from space. And the Banshee takes for the southern part of the range. The other away team heads for the northern part of the range. And the northern team, we sort of followed down as they break through the cloud layer in the atmosphere, and with only a few more minutes of flying, arrive at the Sheliak crash site. Now, the crash site itself does look to be both new and old. There's sort of a juxtaposition here, where it's pretty clear that some parts of the vessel have been splintered apart and have been lying dormant for some time. But you're also seeing signs of active smoke, active energy discharges, maybe some sparks, maybe some bits of movement of pieces and machinery inside the vessel. But in general, it looks like someone has taken a Sheliak ship, which is, best I could tell, is vaguely sort of trapezoidal, and more or less like cracked it over their knee and scattered its remains across this almost snowy tundra. There's a few patches of green that are sort of peeking through some accumulated snowfall, but for the most part, the best description I can think of is take a marshland at the base of a mountain, add a little snow, and then throw in a crash site, and that's what you're looking at here.
From the looks of it, she came down pretty hard.
Yes, sir. I will see if I can pick up any Sheliak readings on sensors.
Go ahead and roll me a reason security, and the shuttle will assist you with a sensors security. And there should actually be a sheet for the ship. Or the shuttle, I should say.
Observation work here?
Oh, yeah. All right, well, that's already 3 successes. Very nice. Someone got the shuttle?
Sorry, I can.
I've got it. So what was it again? Sensors and...
Security. This was only a difficulty 1, so you get 3 momentum. Do you want the good news or the bad news, Fives?
Bad news first, always.
Bad news. Well, I guess it's sort of mixed news, but anyway, you are detecting 5 Sheliak life signs within the main part of the crashed vessel. However, the problem is that 3 of them are extremely critical. Now, it's one of those things where even Alel, being the CMO, and as much as you could look up about the Sheliak on the ship's computer, there's a lot you don't know about the Sheliak's physiology, but what you do know is that 3 of them are about to expire.
And what's the good news?
The good news is that there's an easy way to get to them. You just sort of walk in through that hole in the section of the hull there, go maybe about 20 meters, take a left.
But we're still in the shuttle, right?
Yeah. At the moment, you're sort of like hovering over this crash site at the moment.
And who it's Fives, Datsig, LL.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay. She's gonna want to give them the anti-radiation medication before they depart. Before we all depart.
So while you're dosing us, Fives is gonna brief on the status. Lieutenant Commander, we've got 3 out of 5 on sensors that look like they're about to die any second now. I'm not sure if we could save them even if we got back to Kongo in time. But we can get to them quickly if we leave now.
All right, well, time is of the essence. Let's finish these injections, get suited up in EV, and get moving.
All right. So there's a quick montage sequence of Alel giving hyposprays to everyone, everybody shimmying their way into EV suits, and parking the shuttle just outside of where you're going to be entering into the crash site. And moments later, the door pops open, and the 3 of you, Fives, Datsig, and Alel, trudge out onto the surface of the world. Now, one thing that I think I've neglected to say is that the gravity on this world is a little bit lighter than Earth normal. It's about 0.75 G, so it's about 1/4, or it's about 3/4 as strong as Earth gravity. So it's not quite like moon bouncy level, but you definitely notice a change in your weight as you step out of the shuttle. And really all I'm going to need in order for you guys to get to the Sheliak in time is I'm going to need a fitness and a security from all of you. And overall, I need to see 4 successes.
Okay.
And we also have another momentum from the good power.
Oh yeah, got to redeem from that. Very nice.
Fitness
So you're-
and security from everybody.
From everybody. So everybody does have to make at least an attempt, and you all can determine how much momentum each of you spends. But in general, the way this is going to work is I just need to see 4 successes across all of you.
Okay,
As in combined, you get 4 successes.
Is this more about physiology or just moving to the area?
Physiology would apply here. Escape and avoidance
Infiltration
would
not.
Actually, I'd give you infiltration. I think infiltration
Okay.
would apply.
What about emergency medicine?
Not quite, but when you actually start treating the Sheliak, yes.
And you said escape and avoidance. What about it?
It might apply if you're doing it rapidly, but in your case, I would create the complication that your complication range would be 18 to 20.
Okay, I don't want to do that. But...
Okay.
All right, so I'll level with everybody. My combined fitness and security is 10, so I'm going to be spending a point of momentum for an extra die.
I would say that the one who has the most chance of contributing successes to what's going to happen here would probably be
It's 5s.
the one who takes the momentum mechanically.
Well, sure. We've got
Yeah,
that.
total meta, that's the way to go.
It's true.
Okay, I'm not gonna do momentum, and I don't have
Yeah.
a focus.
I'll yield. I'll
Just
yield
take
to
the momentum, it'll be fine.
Yes.
All right.
Well, we're off to a resounding success of nothing so far. All right, we got
No.
one.
Yeah.
That's partially what I was kind of hoping for.
Oh. All right. Well, that's only 2 successes and a complication. So I
We
think
are
what's
bored.
going to happen is you're going to notice 5s as you keep your tricorder out. 2 of the life signs have gone dormant, which means whoop, there go 2 Sheliak. The complication is going to be that since you rolled it, Datig, your EV suit gets torn as you maybe get like caught on a piece of metal jutting out from a corridor.
That's actually Dotig's. I swear it's made out of paper.
And as your atmosphere leaks out and some of the external leaks in, it's still breathable. I mean, it's, again, barely Class M, but it's very, very, very cold. Like, almost Andoria levels cold.
It's fine.
Whoa.
I like the cold.
Are you sure you can do that?
It's bracing. I'm a Tellarite. We're very good constitutionally.
What's the temperature outside?
Do you want it in Celsius or Fahrenheit? Because I got to do
Either.
a conversion. Fahrenheit, it's probably about 1, like literally 1 degree Fahrenheit.
So it's negative. It's
like
negative,
it's
like 3 or
way
4.
below freezing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Doc, 2 of those guys just blipped off.
Yeah, we've got bigger problems. We've got people dying in there. Worry about them and not the guy who's a little cold.
I am not going to allow the Exo to die of hypothermia. So why don't you take yourself a little more seriously? I can worry about both.
As long as you
Alright.
take your serious self this way.
All right, let's get inside the ship. Maybe they have environmental control.
God, this is not going to look good. We arrive and 2 die.
There's still 3 more.
I mean, we didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah, well, they don't really care about that. Haven't you heard the stories?
Well, I don't really care about what they don't care about.
To be fair, they
Wow,
have
we're off to a
zero
great start for this diplomatic mission.
they have 0 expectations of carbon life to us. Us even being
Yeah.
here at all is probably a surprise.
All right, we're here to help them. Let's help who we can.
All right.
right.
So
this
as you
way.
continue onwards, maybe a little bit more carefully, or at least some of you, you turn the corner and you emerge into the broken remains of what might have been some form of a bridge at one point. It's kind of hard to tell. Again, the Sheliak are sort of these non-humanoid life signs that don't really subscribe to the same sort of niceties or architecture or really anything that humanoids in general subscribe to. So the room itself is almost bowl-shaped, where there is a noticeable curve towards a depression that comes to a flat end at the bottom of where a bowl would be. And sitting in the bowl around what looks to be some form of console or pillar of information at one point, you see 3 Sheliak. One of them is currently sort of moving around very sluggishly, doesn't really seem to be all that injured. And then 2 of them are noticeably different than normal Sheliak. So when we see the Sheliak on screen, we're just sort of given this sort of black amorphous blob that's sitting within these like glowing crystal pillars. That's what the one sluggish one looks like, is again the amorphous blob kind of a thing. The other 2, the critically injured ones, they are actually tinged almost pure white. And Alel would be able to tell just from looking at them that they are in some form of advanced hypothermia at this point.
And I guess as we enter, Datig will just loudly announce, "My name is Lieutenant Commander Datig of the Federation Starship Kongo. This is Dr. Alel and Lieutenant Fives. We monitored your distress call and we are here to render assistance."
And the sluggish one sort of turns, well, not its head, but what looks to be a head in your direction. And this is where we see a voice mod's working today. The Sheliak says,
"According to Section 63, Paragraph 14, Subparagraph 5, you are to render assistance as is ordained in the treaty."
"Yes, we are here to render assistance as designated per our Treaty of Non-Aggression."
Fives will call up that particular session of the treaty to ensure that
Yeah, and
we
Datig
do
will be
it
like,
the right way.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
so basically when
exactly
you
does
pull
it
it up, what it says is that, let's just say it's one of those Sheliak things where they expect you to help them before you help yourselves. So let's just say that you're supposed to put them in the highest priority.
Emergency medical priority is clear, Lieutenant Commander. Doctor.
Very good.
So Alel will run an initial assessment, assuming that because they prefer their surrounding temperature to be equal to their bodily temperature, now that the air is super, super cold, they're basically like cold-blooded reptiles. They are, their energy level is dependent on the temperature around them.
Only unlike cold-blooded reptiles, they actually die instead of just going into hibernation.
Yes. So she is going to do like a quick deduction in that way, and then I'm sure in her emergency kit she has like a reflective material that she could perhaps wrap around them.
Yeah, I would say that you would, especially in your medical kit, which you have as free as a doctor on an away mission, there is at least 1 or 2 thermal blankets inside that you could use.
So she will approach the most dire one in need and just ask them if she can put this around them to warm them up.
The 2 white ones, the ones that are freezing to death, they are non-responsive.
Okay, so she's going to do that anyway to them.
Okay.
As per the treaty. And then she'll approach the more regularly colored one and say, "Can I please wrap this around you to warm you up?"
"My well-being is not of import, save the others."
Can you tell me what might be wrong with them other than how cold they are?
they don't reply, but they sort of make an annoyed noise, like they're trying to figure out how to say it in your quote unquote primitive language, because there's that whole thing with the Sheliak. But you can tell that they're not pleased. They are very not pleased.
Okay, so she'll try and scan them then.
All right, and this is where we're going to actually jump into an extended task. So the work track is going to be a 12. The magnitude is going to be a 4. The difficulty is going to start out as a 4, and there is going to be 1 resistance on this. And this is basically open to the entire away team. You only get 1 assist, though, Alel. And we're going to take it in the stages that you present to me. So if you want to start with a scan, for example, that is going to be a reason medicine, and your exobiology would apply as a focus.
I would like to do that.
All right. Again, the difficulty here is a 4, so you may wish to spend momentum and or get an assist from Fives or Datig.
I would like an assist from Datig.
Okay. Datig, you will also be rolling a reason medicine.
And I can get, okay, so it's either or. Assist. Okay. So I'll roll 2, and then I have the xenobiology focus.
All right, well, that's 1 success. Unfortunately, only 2. So even though you studied up on the Sheliak, I think what happens is your tricorder's having a really hard time deciphering what's going on. Like, obviously, they're freezing to death, but in terms of how to treat this without actually harming them, your tricorder's not giving you any answers.
Can I challenge a value?
Sure.
She's going to, I'm going to challenge Rough and Tumble Doctor. And I will ask for Fives' help to modify the tricorder we have via a scan from his implant of the Sheliak to see if there is any kind of modification I can make to get more information about their biology.
So what I'm going to say then is that we'll let you re-roll as many dice as you want, Alel, of your own die, and then we'll also let Fives assist you with a daring and a, let's call it a daring security on his part. But I am going to make the complication range a 18 to 20 on this one.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'll just re-roll that 1.
Okay.
Reason medicine.
All right, so all we need to see is 1 assist from Fives here.
I only get 1 d20 though.
Correct.
Do I get observation on this?
I'll give it to you because it's sensor related.
Oh, I have collaboration science. Is that helpful?
If it was a science test, if it was science, yes, but this is medicine, unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think what happens, and let me check that 0 because that might be a complication. It is. I think what's going to happen here is Fives, as you maybe try to tie the tricorder into your implant, it's one of those things where either just maybe the Sheliak designs aren't really making sense to your implants, or maybe it's the frigidity of the air, or, you know, there's a whole bunch of factors here, but at the end of the day, you're not getting through, you're not getting a strong signal, a strong readout. And what that means is I'm now going to roll 2 challenge dice here. And if I see an effect, that means that Sheliak A or Sheliak B has died. If I roll 2 effects, they're both done. So here we go. All right, Sheliak B has bit the bucket, has turned completely white, entirely motionless, and its life signs have ceased.
Doctor, if we need to heat these bodies up, I can superheat the area with my phaser. Assuming I can get a good beam out of here, I can melt the area down and that'll produce some heat.
I mean, sure. If the blanket, the medical grade heat blankets didn't help, then we can give it a try. So
Can we carry the remaining injured out?
You could.
Your call, docs. I can superheat it, or I can carry this last guy out and maybe he can come with us.
Commander, I'm gonna leave that one up to you. If you're going to allow the Sheliak onto our shuttle.
And he'll Date will look at. I assume the Sheliak that's up and moving is the Sheliak director.
Correct.
And he'll look at him and say, Director, per treaty, your lives are of paramount importance. We have a shuttle nearby. The inside atmosphere can be modified to be suitable to your life form. Will you consent to moving to the shuttle?
Per paragraph 655, I do hereby grant you the right to relinquish your shuttle to us.
That's...
Sounds
We'll
like
work
a
out the
good
details later.
plan.
And we'll begin to, I guess I'll begin the process of moving them.
All right. So this is actually now going to change tact from Alel taking the lead to probably Fives taking the lead because you're the security guy here.
Great.
So this is going to be a fitness and a security on your part, Fives. And what I'm going to say here is that this is a difficulty of 5. It's not an extended task anymore because you're sort of circumventing it by taking them back to the shuttle. But it is a difficulty of 5, so you may wish to spend some of your momentum and or your determination here.
I would like to spend 3 momentum for 2 additional dice, and I will use my determination. We are Borg.
No? Well, it would be 5 momentum, but tell me a little bit more about that value.
We are Borg?
Well, yeah, how does it apply here?
So, we are Borg is how we get stuff done. We forego the nuances and the details, and we just say, this is the job, let's get to it. We are Borg.
Okay. Fair enough. So yeah, that would be all of your momentum in 1 threat, just for the record.
And you said it was a fitness security?
Yep.
Security. And that gives me 4 dice then?
Yep.
Okay. And focus. And plus that determination.
Mm-hmm.
Time to cringe.
No, you get your 5. So yeah, between Fives, Datic, and Alel, you are able to get the Sheliak A and the Director back to your shuttle in time to save Sheliak A's life. But let's just say that once you're in the shuttle, the Director has some choice words for you. And as he starts to rattle off some treaty numbers, we're actually now going to shift to the other away team. Now, Jaro and Captain Lee, as you all are flying towards the site in question, the mining site, I did want to give you all just maybe a moment or two to roleplay, because I think there was maybe something you wanted to say to each other, if I got the gist of it correctly.
One thing you're going to notice, sir, is that the Banshee doesn't have some of the standard comforts, and with that, Jaro embraces the fact that he's flying and leaves the shuttle bay, going into cloak while doing a barrel roll.
Why don't you roll me a daring con, difficulty of 1, just to pull all that off.
Okay. Dang it.
And if you roll a complication, you are scratching the paint.
Daring con. And I do have precision maneuvering.
Would apply.
All right, so that brings it down to a 0.
You've rolled a complication, so you get a momentum. I'm going to say the complication is you don't so much scratch the Banshee's paint as you scratch the Kongo's paint. And there's a noticeable screech, Lee, as Jaro sort of peels away from the shuttle bay, and you sort of look back, and yeah, someone's going to have to go out there and buff out the hull.
Sorry, just getting my wings
Your
under me.
Wings under you, yes, of course. Ensign, if you could forego any effervescent flying, perhaps just take us down to the surface of the planet. Although, given the maneuver you just pulled off, I think you have some kind of heavily modified ionic induction inhibitors in the thruster system, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have to take a look at this ship a little bit more carefully. Impressive work on the engineering, if not so much on the flying, Ensign.
Well, it's been a while, sir.
All right.
Nonetheless, I appreciate you taking this step.
Yeah. Well, desperate times and all.
I certainly understand that. Set course for the planet and take us down at best possible speed.
And
Aye,
down
aye.
you go. So yeah, the shuttle swoops on down towards the southern end of the mountain range, and the mining facility is actually visible quite a ways away. In general, it is a large square-shaped hole that, even as the Banshee swoops over it, if you wanted to, you could take the entire Kongo down this hole. It's that big. But as you sort of look down with both sensors and your own eyes, you see that indeed, just at the very crux of the vision, right at the very end of the tunnel kind of a thing, you are seeing some molten light, which would suggest that indeed this goes all the way down to the planet's core. Now, how the core is staying down there and not just blasting up out of the hole, you have no idea. You're sort of, as you look around outside of the hole, you're seeing conveyor belts, you're seeing machinery, you're seeing cranes, you're seeing drills, you're seeing all the things you would expect to see of a mining operation. But something is a little bit off. Something seems to suggest that these have been built for alien hands, ones that might not necessarily have the same general, shall we say, shape as a humanoid. Something about them is just not quite right. Like the distances between things are not what you'd expect.
Where do you want to go, Captain?
Take us down, follow the mining tunnel, and what I'd like to do is use the sensors to try to detect the source of the signal. Can we map out a pathway potentially through the tunnels to it?
Yeah, and actually, I think that is a wonderful task, especially because we never get to do chart hazards. That's sort of one of the redheaded stepchild, quote unquote, as it were, of Starship tasks. So this is indeed going to be I believe it's a control, and let me just double check. Yep, no, it's actually a reason and a con, and the Banshee will assist you with a sensors con. And it is a difficulty of 2. If you succeed, you will be able to not scratch the paint again.
Awesome. I'm going to use that one momentum I got for my exit.
All right. Well, this would be Lee's role unless Jaro's the one doing the charting.
Oh no, that's perfectly cool. What's the ship assisting with?
I was actually going to say that my intention wasn't necessarily to sort of chart out the course, but perhaps to identify the location of the signal and hone in on that, perhaps to get more information about it. So I would sort of be assisting Jaro with the plotting of the course.
I see where the confusion is. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. So yes, then Jaro, you are doing the reason con. The ship is assisting with sensors con, and Lee, you'll be assisting with a sensors con as well, or not a sensors con, a reason con. I am going to make the difficulty of 4, though, with some threat, just to keep things interesting.
It's really going for reason science there, but okay.
All right, no help from Lee, unfortunately. Yeah, well, what was your science, a 4 or 3? Because if it was a 4, you would have succeeded, but if it was a 3 or lower,
It was a 3, so.
Yeah, so it wouldn't have made a difference, unfortunately. All right, well, Jaro apparently has 5 successes. Anyone want to roll for the Banshee?
That was sensors con?
Sensor's gone. Ooh, complication. So I think what happens is it's twofold. You do find the signal. It is coming from the tunnels below, right down to the very bottom of them. So you are able to find a way through the corridors. And indeed, Jaro does, in general, almost put on a clinic of how masterfully skilled he is at getting the Banshee through tight spaces. But you do hear an occasional screech or an occasional sort of shake of the shuttle as some more paint is going to be needing replacement. But eventually, you all do arrive in a sort of a big amphitheater type room where a drill is actively mining into what appears to be molten rock that makes up perhaps the lower part of the planet's crust. And it actually looks like that there is a landing spot for the Banshee, actually several, where mining equipment or mining drones would normally take up the resources that the drill is extracting back up through the tunnels you just came down through.
Jaro will put it down.
All right. So as you put it down, my question is, do you actually go outside or do you scan first? Do you do anything before stepping outside?
I think Lee technically would scan under normal circumstances, but I'd like to introduce a complication using my value faith and family before duty, that he is actually going to order Jaro to depart without carrying out any initial scans because he's not exactly thinking rationally.
Okay. So Jaro, do you take that order is the question.
Yes, sir. And we have a momentum because I succeeded by one. So.
Yep. So, again, after donning your own EV suits, you step out, and in a stark contrast to the other away team, this temperature is very high, like almost like class-wide demon planet high. Your suits aren't quite melting, but if you got any closer to the mining below, you'd melt on the spot, kind of a thing. But Jaro and Lee, as you look around, you notice two things that are of grave importance to you. The first is that there does appear to be what might be some form of a coffin or some form of container nearby. It's not quite a sea container. It's more like a hexagonal container that's the size of a sea container. And the reason I point it out is that you all are hearing clanging coming from inside the container. The other thing that you're noticing, especially for Lee, is that part of the drill is exposed in that the sort of the shaft of the drill is sort of open to the air. And right in the middle of this shaft is something very, very important to Lee. And I mean is that there is a literal orb of the prophets within the drill shaft.
Mm.
When Jaro exits the ship, he is exiting with his phaser, and he also has a saber.
Okay.
Ensign, address whatever that is, and Lee will gesture over towards the strange noise that's emanating from the container that you mentioned. As he is saying that, can I see any way to access the drill or reach the section where the orb or parent orb is being stored?
Yeah, so I maybe should have explained it a little bit better, but you're sort of on like a gangplank that leads out towards the drill. It doesn't quite connect, but looking around, Lee, what you find is a console at the end of this gangplank, which conceivably could use to extend it. Like you're seeing signs that the gangplank can be extended further. So it's just a matter of interfacing with alien technology.
Then Lee would be pretty much ignoring the ensign and the order that he is hopefully effecting, and focusing wholly on trying to extend the bridge and reaching the central pillar.
All right, so I would like you to roll me let's call this a daring and a science on your part, and the difficulty on this will be a 3.
ELH, before that roll is made, can I roll the challenge die for unlimited potential?
Or untap potential. Yeah, go for it. Because it could matter. Hey, I get a threat.
You get a threat.
Hey.
Great. Didn't matter at all.
Good.
It mattered.
Yeah, it did. It did.
You get a.
In terms of interacting with this technology, would that more be an engineering task or science?
I could give you engineering. I mean, if you want to flavor it as engineering, I could give it to you.
And engineering and reason, was it?
Daring.
Or daring? Daring.
Again, difficulty of 3.
Captain, do you need any help?
Uh,
As he is walking over to the task he has been assigned.
no, Ensign, that's quite all right. I'll be more than capable of interfacing with this technology. Just deal with the issue that I assigned to you.
Yes, sir.
And I will tap a value.
Mm-hmm.
The prophets created this universe for us to explore, regardless of the cost. So this is actually something of grave importance to Lee, given that this should not exist. I mean, this is a hitherto undiscovered orb, as I believe all the ones, save for those that were appropriated by the Cardassians, have been actually returned to Bajor. So this is utterly unknown. This is literally what he is out here to find in more ways than one.
Yeah, I think that definitely applies.
And experimental technology?
No,
okay.
if you had alien technology, I would have given it to you, but yeah, I don't think experimental quite applies here.
Fair enough. And no applicable focus.
All right, well, it's a good thing you spent that determination, because there's your 3. So yeah, the gangplank begins to extend, and as the sort of the platform sort of gets closer and closer to the orb, I like to imagine maybe Lee is like almost at the edge of it, like trying to reach out and touch the orb as soon as he can. And it's one of those things where eventually the gangplank does connect with the drill, and you can hop off and start to interface with the drill. But I'm going to start a complication that is at this moment that bursting out of the container is going to be a creature that is, well, fairly unknown to pretty much everybody. What you're seeing coming out of the container is essentially a velociraptor, an alien velociraptor, that is purple and feathered, with the tips of its feathers being tinged red and bioluminescent. And as this creature begins to bear down on Jaro, I think that's where we're going to call today's session, because I'm an asshole.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
Good
those
luck
are
with
your
that,
those
Vincent.
those are your words, not mine. Those are your words. Good lord.
So yeah, what'd you guys think?
Very intriguing.
Yes, super
I like
engaging.
I like motivating Lee in this way.
Mm-hmm.
His tunnel vision, it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Focus on personal fulfillment. It's great. I love it.
Cool. All right, well, YouTube, this is where we say goodbye, but Twitch, stick around for a little bit longer. YouTube, see you later. Bye.